We're kicking off today with Monday Night Raw, which is finally on Netflix, and this new era kicked off with an epic cold open package detailing the history of wrestling. Triple H took center stage and welcomed fans to the Netflix era, and after pyro erupted around the CCO, The Rock entered LA's Intuit Dome to a thunderous ovation. The final boss shared that this was the largest LA entry gate in the history of WWE and was excited that WWE's move to Netflix will increase the promotion's global reach. Rock gave a shout out to Netflix's CEO Ted Sarandos before listing the WWE superstars he wants to acknowledge, including Cody Rhodes for carrying WWE for the past year. It was certainly a surprise for The Rock to praise Rhodes in his first promo of 2025, given their last in-ring confrontation was on the Post-WrestleMania Raw, which saw The Rock warn the champ. On that night, The Rock teased going after the WWE Undisputed title upon his return, but instead, the two seemingly buried the hatchet despite their past issues. If anything, this seemed to be the global entertainer Dwayne Johnson speaking from the heart about his love for WWE and those involved, rather than the final boss, The Rock. Rhodes, who sat front row behind the commentators for the segment, accepted The Rock's praise, and the pair even shared a hug, with Rhodes being visibly emotional. This interaction seems to have put to bed any speculation of The Rock versus Rhodes at WrestleMania 41, as this behavior certainly suggested a face turn by the Brahma Bull. Rock also acknowledged Roman Reigns in his promo, as the OTC's match with Solo Sikoa was set for immediately after this promo, and The Rock said he'd be watching this match closely. The segment ended with The Rock telling the crowd to smell what he's cooking, giving the fans a fun moment indicative of a face turn before he made his exit. This was seemingly a character reset for The Rock, who was all smiles and warmth in his segment, as the days of the heel final boss are seemingly over for now. With the Fala and status as Tribal Chief on the line, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa competed in the first match of Raw on Netflix under Tribal Combat rules. Alicia Taylor gave this contest a big fight feel as she introduced both men, and WWE introduced a new look for referees, who now sport a gray shirt and design. Paul Heyman interrupted Taylor so he could introduce his Tribal Chief in a moment that fans have always loved joining along with, and this week was no different. There were plenty of weapons in the match, including a table that Solo took a last ride powerbomb through, though Tama Tonga broke up Reigns' pinfall attempt. There were loud few Solo chants from those in the Intuit Dome, and Sikoa and his Bloodline asserted control during the show's opening match. Jacob Fatu got involved and took Roman down with a DDT and a moonsault, though it was clear that when he got in the ring, he was supposed to hit a super kick. Unfortunately, the spot was botched as Fatu caught his leg on a piece of broken table and instead slapped Reigns in an awkward moment that didn't go unnoticed by fans. As Solo wailed on Reigns in the corner, he declared, "I've always loved you," but that Reigns had never shared love for him, a nod to their time as allies in the OG Bloodline. Sikoa nailed a Samoan spike, but that didn't put Reigns away, and after Chad Patton, the referee ate a Samoan spike as well. Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso arrived to help Reigns out. Kevin Owens emerged out of nowhere to block Reigns' attempted spear with a stunner, but Sikoa could only get a 2 count as the scene grew more chaotic. Owens' continued beatdown on Roman was cut short by Cody Rhodes, who ran him off, and Zayn hit a haluva kick on Solo before Reigns hit a spear that should have won him the match. Reigns had Solo pinned for much longer than 3, but the referee was down, and when a new official showed up, Solo was able to kick out and keep the match going. The finish saw Reigns duck a Samoan spike and nail a spear, and followed up with another for good measure to get the win and cement his role as the one true Tribal Chief. After the match, The Rock got in the ring and took the Fala from Paul Heyman, and in the dramatic climax, placed it on Roman Reigns' neck, and the pair embraced. Although fans had got the feeling that The Rock may have attacked Roman, he chose not to, further cementing that this is a babyface run for the People's Champion. PW Insider reports that in the WWE Raw run sheets, Rock was listed as a face, and this post-match segment shows that Rock vs. Reigns isn't happening anytime soon. So Roman Reigns is once again the undisputed Tribal Chief in WWE, but why exactly did the creative team give the former Universal Champion the win? One reason behind this booking is that WWE wants to end Reigns' rivalry with Solo Sikoa and the new Bloodline, as with WrestleMania approaching, it's time for somebody fresh for the OTC. PW Insider has reported that WWE is considering Reigns vs. CM Punk for WrestleMania, a feud that'll need Roman's full attention, hence the end of this storyline with his cousin. With this angle behind him, WWE can take Reigns in new directions and fresh storylines, while having Solo win would have almost certainly led to the feud between the two continuing. It remains to be seen what's next for Sikoa, but given his attack on the official, don't count out a fine or suspension to be dished out by Adam Pearce, as we've seen in the past. But what's your take on how WWE booked Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa during WWE Raw this week? Let us know what you think in the comments section. The Rock's face turn didn't just play out on TV, as during an Instagram Live, he had a session drinking vodka with Cody Rhodes, another sign of a face turn and the end of their feud. Also on Instagram, the Brahma Bull shared that he will be on tonight's WWE NXT, which will be the show's New Year's Evil special, where we can expect plenty of cheers. On Twitter, NXT GM Ava, who is also The Rock's daughter, said she'd be having a big day, and fans can certainly expect the Silver Brand's leader to be thrilled to see her father in NXT. The Rock got a warm welcome during WWE's Raw debut on Netflix, which is more than what could be said for Hulk Hogan during his appearance in the show's third hour. Hogan, who was noticeably hobbling, made his way out alongside U.S. flag-bearing Jimmy Hart in the Hulkster's first appearance on the Red brand since January of last year. Despite being a babyface for decades in his career, the Hulkster was booed by the live crowd in the Intuit Dome, and nothing Hogan could say won the fans over. Even Hogan saying he wouldn't be here if not for the fans did not stop the booing, nor did the Hulkster promoting his Real American beer. WWE and Hogan have reached a multi-year deal to make his beer the official beer of Raw and other WWE shows, and his logo will be displayed on the ring mat corners for all Raws. WWE has also acquired a minority stake in Real American Beer, which launched in June of last year and is available in 20 states, but this partnership clearly wasn't well received at Raw. Hogan is an undeniable legend, but is also a source of controversy, with years of allegations of politicking and sabotaging careers to benefit his own. In 2015, Hogan was fired from WWE after racist comments came to light, and in the video, Hogan uses a racial slur and admits to being a racist to a point. Hogan's recent comments have also come under scrutiny, and while the Hulkster is expected to be at Saturday night's main event this month, he may be in store for another frosty reception. As we mentioned, Kevin Owens aided Solo Sikoa in his tribal combat match with Roman Reigns, but why did the prizefighter get involved? As brought up on commentary, Owens spent a long time feuding with the Bloodline when Reigns ruled the group, and it appears these two have some unfinished business. It's also possible that Owens and Sikoa have reached a secret alliance, one that could pay dividends for KO next month at the Royal Rumble when he faces Cody Rhodes. The two will meet in a WWE title ladder match, and with Rhodes also being an adversary of Solo in the past, it could be Sikoa and the Bloodline who prove crucial in this title match. WWE Raw's debut on Netflix was a night Drew McIntyre would rather forget, as he lost to Jey Uso in their highly personal grudge match in LA. Not only did Drew lose, but his loss was due to an impromptu roll-up, which felt underwhelming given their rivalry, even if fans were pleased to see Jey get the win. The crowd were firmly on Jey's side from the very start as he arrived through the crowd with Travis Scott. While this was a good competitive match, the exhaustion of the crowd became apparent. That led to the fans struggling to invest at times, but Uso still looked great, and McIntyre sold the shock and anger of his loss appropriately. The Scottish Warrior will now look to avenge another loss to Jey, his 8th in a row if you include live events, as McIntyre's frustrations continue to grow against the popular babyface. Travis Scott aligned with Jey Uso for an epic entrance through the crowd, and as his track Fine played, Scott was seen casually smoking a joint live on air. According to Wade Keller, the moment was entirely unscripted and caught Triple H and other producers shocked backstage, and WWE is expected to implement measures to prevent similar incidents. The collaboration between WWE and Scott was highly anticipated, with his music serving as the official theme of Raw, and seeing him with the popular Jey Uso was a natural fit. Scott's smoking may not have been to everyone's taste, but he certainly enjoyed a huge pop on the show as another character on arguably the biggest Raw of all time. Monday's Raw saw The Rock and other celebrities on the show, including Macaulay Culkin, Seth Green, Wale, Danielle Fishel, and Will Friedle, all in attendance. The show also saw the return of John Cena, who entered his farewell era on the show and told the LA crowd that he couldn't think of a better place to start his long goodbye. There were thank you Cena chants, which were hardly a surprise, as the fans were there to appreciate all John has done for WWE and beyond ahead of his final ever match. Cena brought up his past in Los Angeles, including his first WWE title win in 2005, and name-dropped potential opponents including CM Punk, Logan Paul, Gunther, and Cody Rhodes. John delivered a twist on his lyrics, saying, "My time is up, their time is now," as the WWE icon, who for years was the unquestionable top star, praised today's crop of superstars. The WWE icon then addressed possibly becoming a 17-time world champion, but brought up that it's been 2,446 days since he last won a singles match in WWE. It's shocking that someone fans once loathed for always winning hasn't won a singles contest since the Greatest Royal Rumble in April 2018 when he beat Triple H in the show's opener. For perspective, that was the first ever match in WWE's partnership with Saudi Arabia, and now we're just a few years off the end of this lucrative 10-year deal. A bereft Cena couldn't see himself winning a world title again, but then reminded the fans that a path to a guaranteed title match did exist in the form of the Royal Rumble. Cena declared himself for the men's match, and after previously announcing that he'd be a competitor, went one step further and declared that he will win the Royal Rumble match. It's been reported that Cena's WrestleMania opponent will be WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, and this seems more likely given that The Rock's role on Raw put his feud with Rhodes to bed. This leaves Rhodes free to take on the WWE icon should Cena indeed win the Royal Rumble, a win that would tie John with Stone Cold Steve Austin at 3 wins each. A clean win in the Rumble could see Cena's achievement surpass the Rattlesnake, who won the Rumble in 1997, but only after being eliminated when refs weren't looking and sneaking back in. Whatever 2025 holds, Cena is set to take WWE fans on a ride of highs, lows, and emotions, and for many, hopefully one last historic reign as WWE World Champion. In his first match on Raw in close to 11 years, CM Punk defeated Seth Rollins in the main event after months of promo battles and wars of words between the two. On commentary, Michael Cole discussed the past between the two, even using Rollins' real name of Colby Lopez, and even name-dropped Dean Ambrose in a nod to AEW's World Champion. Punk and Rollins battled in and out of the ring, with Rollins hitting the GTS while Punk hit the stomp, and later on, Rollins countered a GTS from Punk to hit another one of his own. The pair battled on the announce desk where Rollins hit the pedigree but hit his own knee on the desk, and a buckle bomb and stomp nearly sealed Rollins the win. Punk got his foot on the rope to keep the match going, and when Seth went for the Falcon Arrow, Punk countered with a GTS and hit another one to get the win. This was an excellent match that had the potential to be even better, though that could be chalked up to time restrictions as the show went a few minutes over its 3 hours. Still, Punk vs. Rollins lived up to the hype, and the pair delivered a physical personal showdown that saw both men do what they could to beat the other until Punk got the win. The question now is where both men go from here, as this was a decisive finish, and what plans for both men look like as we draw closer to WrestleMania 41. As Punk stood victorious, Rollins looked on frustrated, and speaking with Jackie Redmond after the show, Punk declared that he's back and better than ever. Punk added that though he's 46 years old, he's number one in wrestling, and shared that he's coming for all the gold in 2025, and called the show the biggest thing I've ever done. Punk dedicated the match to Chad Gilbert, the Newfound Glory guitarist who's been diagnosed with cancer multiple times, and TNA's Chris Bay, who suffered a major neck injury in October. During the post-show press conference, Punk was asked for his thoughts on Seth Rollins and didn't hold back when addressing if their feud is truly over. He said, "I'd love to say that was the one and only time I have to deal with Seth Rollins, but we know that's not going to be the truth. I feel like Drew McIntyre was a challenge, just trying to get rid of him. I don't see Seth rolling over and going to sleep, so to speak. I hope he's up all night with nightmares of me driving my knee into his face." Punk also shared some guilt over using his GTS finisher on opponents for years, as he said that, after taking a couple of those against Rollins, "I can honestly say it sucks." The Chicago-made star left the press conference without giving a clear answer about what's next for him, but judging by his comments, his war from Seth Rollins may be far from over. After a year or so, the rivalry of Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley seemingly wrote its last chapter on Raw as Mommy challenged the Women's World Champion in the show's sole title match. Ripley's early dominance was met with interference by Dominic Mysterio and Raquel Rodriguez at ringside, which allowed Morgan to regain control of the situation. Liv delivered 3 amigos and a frog splash, and Michael Cole made it clear on commentary that this was not done as a loving tribute to Eddie Guerrero, but out of spite for Morgan. Ripley weathered the storm and fought back, and when Morgan tried one last oblivion, Ripley caught her and delivered her second and third riptides of the match to get the win. This was an impressive match between two women who were allowed to really show their stuff after months of interference-heavy showdowns. This wasn't a retelling of a love triangle, nor was it any battle for Dominic, but rather a match between two women with personal beef and a title at stake, which was all that was needed. Realistically, this is the match they should have had a long time ago, though the post-match moment with Ripley and The Undertaker was fitting of Raw's Netflix debut. To the sounds of American Badass, the Phenom arrived on a motorcycle and circled the ring before ending side by side with Ripley in a huge endorsement of the new champion. While the majority of fans were shocked to see The Undertaker, not everyone was taken aback, as WWE's efforts to make this event as big as possible spoiled the Phenom's appearance. Netflix and WWE set up a full-scale ring outside the arena, complete with a video screen so fans could film their entrances, a fun idea that's typically seen at WWE Access shows. While fans lined up for the show, though, a production worker accidentally turned on a big screen to reveal The Undertaker hours before his surprise appearance after Ripley's win. For those around the arena, this essentially spoiled that the dead man would be appearing, and fans realized they were witnessing something WWE had planned to keep under wraps. Nevertheless, The Undertaker's sort of surprise appearance was a hit with fans, as the Phenom was able to pop the audience while also boosting the spotlight of one of WWE's top current stars. Over to SmackDown now, as last week's show saw the Blue brand move to 3 hours, though fans shouldn't get used to this third hour of programming. According to sources, the extra hour will only be temporary, and on the Pat McAfee show, Triple H confirmed that while SmackDown is 3 hours from right now, it will move back to 2. The game didn't give a date for when the change will happen, though reports from WrestleVotes and PW Insider have suggested that 3 hours will last until spring or early summer. A source who spoke to PW Insider emphasized that WWE is being flexible to be a good partner to NBC Universal, so their decision to change the length is based on their deal with the network. While the third hour allows for more stars to be featured, there have been concerns about fan fatigue, and the clock is ticking for this extended format for the Blue brand. What do you think about WWE SmackDown's temporary 3-hour runtime? Should WWE stick with it long term, or return to 2 hours as planned? Let us know below. Jade Cargill news now, as the WWE superstar is working on her comeback, as PW Insider notes that she's been spotted at the Performance Center in Orlando. Last year, Goldberg shared that his final match will happen in 2025, and according to the Wrestling Observer, the Hall of Famer's return will come on the January 27th Raw. That show will be in the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, a city synonymous with Goldberg, as he played for the Atlanta Falcons in the early 90s before rising to stardom in WCW. WCW is based in Atlanta, and fans can expect that the crowd in the City of Trees will give Goldberg a hero's welcome as he prepares for his final match. Who do you think should be Goldberg's final opponent? Share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section. Backstage at Raw, Paul Heyman asked Roman Reigns about his future plans following the Tribal Combat win, and Reigns brought up January 27th, teasing an appearance on that Raw. Not only that, but the pair walked in a door with the WWE 2K25 logo, signifying that fans will be hearing updates about that new game sooner rather than later. Backstage, Chad Gable confronted Adam Pearce and demanded a match against the Luchador on next week's Raw, and Pearce said he had the perfect Luchador in mind. The Raw GM asked Gable if he was really ready for this, and the Olympian said he was, and while they didn't mention who he'll face, it's clear that this will mark the debut of Penta. During Raw, the latest vignette confirmed that the AEW alum is coming and will work under the name Penta, and we'll have to see how the Masked Star fares in his WWE debut. On Raw, it was announced that Finn Balor will take on Damian Priest during next week's episode of Raw in a street fight, and expect their war to get even more violent with weapons involved. The New Day teased having a match on Raw, but instead said they simply don't want to, and sure enough, the duo of Woods and Kingston didn't have to get their hands dirty on the show. The Miz tried to weasel out of a match with the Wyatt Six, but Karrion Kross manipulated the A-lister into accepting another match with Uncle Howdy's faction. A glitch appeared during the segment, which included a red circle and a picture of Uncle Howdy, but no tease for Alexa Bliss, as many had speculated after the recent Uncle Howdy diary entries. Bayley was spotted conversing with Adam Pearce, teasing that the role model could be making the move to Raw as part of the WWE transfer window. The WWE stars were out in full in the crowd as Stephanie McMahon and Nikki Bella were seen in the audience, adding another layer to this historic Raw. And that was this week's Raw, the debut of the Red brand on Netflix, and WWE delivered one of the biggest and best episodes of the show in its 32-year history. From the moment Triple H opened the show until the final image of CM Punk after he bested Seth Rollins in the main event, this felt like a PLE, with every match having meaning behind it. Cameos from legends, a red-hot crowd, and celebrities galore only added to the PLE feel, and WWE's production was at its finest, as expected for such an occasion. WWE didn't bother censoring chants such as the "F*** you" solo call from the crowd, another sign of how Raw on Netflix will differ from shows on television. WWE once again created must-see TV, something it does arguably better than any other promotion, and this week's Raw was an epic start to a brand new era. But what did you think of the show? Did Raw's debut on Netflix live up to expectations? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments.